Hi again. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a while, as usual. I was away, and then after 2.5 years, unfortunately, COVID found me at the dentist's office, it seems like. And it was a very rough 8 or 9 days, but I'm finally feeling better. And so I'm back. And we're getting very close to the end of No One Is Talking About This. So I hope you have your Kleenex ready for the next couple recordings. By the time she left her sister's house, months had passed and she felt a different kind of disconnect. Dr. Butthole, for one, no longer needed her. He hid in the underside of the couch all day long, tasting himself, for even to a cat, the self was a delicacy beyond any other. You were gone so long that Barbara Streisand became hot to me, her husband said on her return, burying his face in her neck. But he informed her, forgotten how to sleep next to another person, and in a late night burst of inspiration had bought himself a second bed that he placed side by side with the first. Honey, I think you ordered the wrong size, she told him. It looks like a baby bed. Not a baby bed. Bed for an adult, he said hotly. But when she woke later and reached for him, she saw him tossing and turning in something small enough for an orphan, the blanket failing to cover him completely, his feet dangling off the flat edge of the earth. Summer still reverberated, struck like a gong. The hot, curlicued wind carried messages to her. The whole landscape, everything she looked at, was a gold crop that needed harvesting before fall set in and the year began to see its own breath. Her arms spread wide. She felt cut open where the baby had been. Her voice, when she heard it in unguarded moments, still sounded like a flow of human sunshine, kindness, to somewhere. Yet the invitations to the outside world had ceased for the moment. Schools were out and all of Europe rested, and she was no longer an expert in anything, let alone what was going on. Tetsuya Tanaka diorama of a funeral on a keyboard, miniature figures in black, their heads bowed, with a flowering wreath laid on the coffin of the plus sign. A photo of a hot actor in a 2014 staging of The Elephant Man, in which he played the main role without prosthetics, just by twisting his torso and making a weird face. This was the test, she thought to herself, and waited to feel either hilarity or outrage. Neither came. He looks like he's doing a pretty good job, she decided finally. I bet his mom is proud of him, which is what she thought about most people she encountered these days. But had she lost her ability to laugh at such things? The New York Times review of the play ended with this assessment of the actor's performance. He is, as he should be, the elephant in the room. Ah ha 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 ha. No, the ability to laugh was quite intact. She tried to re enter the portal completely, but inside it, everyone was having an enormous argument about whether they had ever thought the N word, with some people actually professing that their minds blanked it out when they encountered it in a book, and she backed out again without a sound. The thing she wanted the baby to know seemed small, so small. How it felt to go to a grocery store on vacation, to wake at 3 a.m. and run your whole life through your fingertips. First library card, new lipstick, a toe going numb for 2 months because you wore borrowed shoes to a friend's wedding Thursday, October. She's like the wind in a dentist's office. Driver's license picture where you look like a killer, getting your bathing suit back on after you go to the bathroom, touching a symbol for sound and then touching it again for silence, playing house in the refrigerator box, letting a match burn down to the fingerprints, one hand in the Scrabble bag, and then IOUEA. Eyes racing to the end of Villette, skip the parts about the Cretan sweetheart. Hamburger wrappers on a road trip, the twist of a heavy red apple in an orchard, word on the tip of the tongue, the portal, but just for a minute. The flick of Joseph Campbell's two long fingernails in The Power of Myth as he speaks of the creeper that climbed the coconut tree in his house in Hawaii, how the creeper knew where to go and where to turn its leaves, how it had a form of consciousness. I begin to feel more and more that the whole world is conscious, that these are the eyes of the earth and this is the voice of the earth. If all this was thinking, then what was the head? If you were gone from it for a little while and then returned and no longer belonged, what was it? A brain, a language, a place, a time? Oh, my information. Oh, my everything I needed to know. I never knew I needed to know. Sorry. Far away now, her sister texted. I think she's hearing rain for the very first time. The first flake of snow on everything, now wild and warm. Thursday in the rain, October in the rain. Twist of a heavy red apple, word on the tip of the tongue, grain by green glass grain, and all of it until it ran out. An eye primed for reading will also read an image, Caucasian blink.gif. So her eye read the images her sister sent of the baby left to right, first toe in the bath, Russian novels that no one would ever write, sprawling epics that covered every inch of the human experience. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. The beautiful eyes, yes, were getting bigger. A proposed operation to stitch the baby's eyelids closed, and they suffered because so much of her communication was when her eyes widened, they believed with wonder. But on the morning of the procedure, the anesthesiologist shone a light into the dolphin blue depths, listened to the dragging tides of her breathing, and said he wouldn't. If it were his daughter, he just wouldn't do it. They all dreamed about her. In their dreams, she crawled, ate grapes, sang nursery rhymes. In their dreams, her overgrowth syndrome shot her past other people and made her powerful, and she moved among them with the use of ingenious wheels, extenders, whiz-bang devices. She held up her own head. She slept like other people. Above all, she spoke to them in a high-pitched, otherworldly voice. I am a very advanced life form, she announced one night, but soon I must return to the planet 9/11. The time ripened inside gold watches. Pyramids of pumpkins and tubs of rusty orange flowers began to appear outside of grocery stores, and October issued its invitation for spirits to return to Earth. In the hospital, back when they thought the baby would never leave it, her sister and her husband had gathered a pile of seasonal outfits for the baby to wear. A year in a day, winter, summer, spring, fall. Can I keep you? A woman asked her son as she changed his diaper on a public bench. The question was monogrammed for him alone. It was soft as a blanket, already with use. Can I keep you? Just for a little while. When it came out that we had only 12 real years left, there was a kind of urgent flowering. People everywhere felt it. Families began planning their summer trips to the postcards, to every mountain, field, and forest on the fast spinning rack. And novelists in the portal began to rise on a tide of peculiar energy. This was their moment. They were going to say goodbye to all that. They were going to say the final goodbye to all that. Meanwhile, on the earth of the baby, the climate grew hotter. Icebergs melted, the seas rose, permafrost cracked to release prehistory. Sections of the Great Barrier Reef blinked out whitely and one by one. Despite all this, on the earth of the baby, the thing that people talked, touched, painted pictures, kept going. Think if the ocean has a fever for years, LOL. No sickness and broken bones. We'd be flying through the warmth more than walking. When she was 14 weeks old, they took the baby to Disney World because this, in America, was something that you did. She moved among the unknown characters serenely. She abided the fireworks. She passed through the doorways that looked like doorways and into the houses that looked like houses, only pausing to express absolute ecstasy when the band 98 Degrees began to play on the main stage at Epcot and the baby heard. She heard. Her father began to dance with her. Her eyes went as wide as a documentary called Planet Earth. Cameras diving into the blue, from outer space into the deepest reefs. She fucking loves 98 Degrees, her mother exclaimed. This was the music of their youth, when the heart was a red hope. They knew every single word. The band was named for the temperature of the human body. The baby danced. She was dancing in her father's arms. The baby rode with equanimity through the darkness of the haunted mansion, regarding the proceedings with the same tolerant amusement she had shown at her baptism. Don't worry, she seemed to reassure her father and mother, who balanced her like a child queen between them in their roller coaster car. It won't be like this. It won't be anything like this at all. These are the forms, she told them earnestly, as the camera above took a picture of them in their corruptible, mortal state, for everyone to laugh at together when the ride was over. But if you ever really need it, I will put on a white lace dress and come to you. A teenager on the nighttime ferry snuck his phone over her shoulder to take pictures of the baby in her special stroller, though by that time it seemed baffling. She didn't look that different from other babies, did she? He was taking pictures because of her sweetness, her freshness, not because he was going to post them, right? I just don't want people to be scared of her, her sister had said when they first received the diagnosis. But now that the baby was here, the whole family had turned to a huge blue defiant stare that moved as a part through the waves, with the fear of the world curling tall on either side of them. They wanted what? To take the sun by the face and force it down. Look at her, look, shine on her, shine, shine. A round rainbow followed her on the plane ride home from Orlando. Every time she looked out the window, it was there, traveling fleetly over clouds that had the same dense flocked pattern that had begun to appear on the baby's skin, the soles of her feet and palms of her hands. So she seemed to have weather for finger and footprints. The round rainbow, her answers told her when she touched down, was actually called a glory. Right. I'll stop there for now. We have maybe one or two more installments. It's interesting in that section. I think things are sort of getting more poetic and more associative as the narrator steps away from the portal, as it were. So yeah, stay tuned for another installment soon.